Is Sean O'Malley cooked at bantamweight? I know lately I've been putting on an absolute masterclass in glazing O'Malley.
Sean is way too good everywhere. If we're talking about pure skill, there's not been another bantamweight that's as good as he is. If you put O'Malley at Pereira's weight, I do think that there's a chance he could outstrike him.
The bounce back fights that I've been hearing people talk about for O'Malley after UFC 306 are Cejudo, Cory Sandhagen, and then maybe like Figueiredo or Petr Yan, right? I'm gonna do a quick 15 to 30 second breakdown of each one of those fights. And before I give you my take, just let me know in the comments below, do you think Sean can get his belt back from Merab, or Umnar for that matter? And if you enjoy these videos, please just give me a like. Even if you liked it just a little, subscribe. It really helps me make more and it helps me get better at doing them. Starting with O'Malley versus Yan. In a rematch, I don't see that much changing in the striking department. I still think Sean will get the better of Yan. And you just have to believe that after 2 back-to-back grappling training camps for Sean O'Malley versus Aljo and Merab, he'd be able to close the gap just enough to actually secure a legitimate win against Yan in a rematch. So if I had to put a percentage on it, I'd say in a 3-rounder, we're looking at probably 60-40 for O'Malley, and I'd probably do more 55-45 in a 5-rounder. Looking at O'Malley versus Figgy, I just think O'Malley's going to knock him out. I know Figgy has good striking and good grappling, and I know he's powerful, but I just think he's going to be a little too short for Sean. I think in most of the striking exchanges, Sean's going to be able to fade out and crack him hard with counters, and although Figgy is rejuvenated at bantamweight, I just don't think with his age he's going to be able to take it from Sean. So I'm going to do probably 80-20 for O'Malley on that one. Moving on to O'Malley versus Sandhagen, another fight that I do think O'Malley should be able to win, maybe 65-35. Sandhagen's really good, but I think O'Malley edges him out in the striking. Sandhagen's a good grappler, but the kind of grappler that Sean struggles with is going to be one of these shorter, stronger guys that can control him on the ground, not one of these longer, lengthier guys that has good BJJ. And lastly, O'Malley versus Cejudo, another fight totally winnable for Sean. I think Cejudo's fallen in love with his striking a little bit too much over the years, and even though he's an Olympic caliber wrestler, it just doesn't translate into MMA in the same way. He just doesn't have great control. Plus, with his age, he just doesn't have the strength of guys like Umnar and Merab at this point. I think Sean will be able to stand up from takedowns, beat him up on the feet. If he gets taken down, he'll be able to stand up again, and probably, I don't know, a 70-30 fight for O'Malley is what I'd give it. So if I'm picking O'Malley to win all these potential bounce-back fights, why is it that I'm saying he's cooked in this division? And the real issue is just Umnar and Merab. Dude, there's something that O'Malley said in his podcast recently that just really shines some light on what these matchups could look like in the future, and I'm just gonna roll it right now.
I felt like I got out strength. I knew what to do in certain positions. I just felt like he was just stronger. I just felt that was strength.
This strength issue that Sean O'Malley's having is not something I think is just going to go away. At 135 pounds, I just don't think he's physically capable of putting that muscle on his long, tall frame and still being able to make weight. Not only will he continue to struggle in the grappling exchanges because of this lack of strength, these guys are also rapidly improving their striking. The gap is getting closer and closer in the striking, and Sean's not going to be able to close that gap in the strength to make up for it. So I think Sean can win these #1 contender fights, but I just think he's going to have such a hard time getting the belt back from Umnar or Merab. And I think if you look at the division and you look at the rankings, it's really hard to imagine a near future where one of those guys is not the champ. So if Sean can't get the belt from one of these guys, what does he do? And that's where I think it might be time to start considering the move up to 145. And before you start dropping the hate, just hear me out, because I think this might actually be a good take. With Sean's frame, he'll be able to carry more muscle at 145, and I don't think he'll be undersized. If he trains right, he should be able to keep his bantamweight speed, keep his bantamweight skill. Think like Jerome Holloway moving up to fight Gaethje at 155, right? And Sean did mention, after UFC 306, that he has a torn labrum in his hip. He's going to need to get surgery. He's going to be out for a little while anyway. Probably in the immediate weeks following surgery, he's going to naturally just put on a little bit of weight. He can start to lift upper body. Once he recovers, he can lift full body. He can take that time off, that full year, and build up into 145 the right way. And then he can make his big comeback, bigger, badder, 145. And with how much the UFC likes him, I just think he's one fight away from the title in either division. Because we already went over the fights that he could have at bantamweight. He could have Cejudo, he could have Cory, he could have Yan or Figueiredo, and then eventually he'll need to fight Merab and Umnar. Or at featherweight, Sean versus the loser of Ilia and Max. Sean versus Volk. Sean versus Diego Lopes or Yair. Come on, those fights just sound so much more fun than what's at bantamweight. I'm gonna talk about a couple of these fights quick, starting with the Max fight. I think that's an interesting one because Sean and Max are around the same height, but Sean fights a little bit longer. I think Sean can counter Max on the end of some of Max's combos, like the ones that he finishes with the long, like extending, chasing, double, triple jab. I don't know if you know the ones I'm talking about. And at the same time, Max is gonna be targeting the body hard, which is probably gonna take a toll late in the fight on O'Malley. I could see the fight, like in the last couple rounds, ending with Max kind of styling on Sean. And if Sean didn't bank enough rounds early, I do think Max could run away with this one. Even if Sean doesn't win, I still think it's a really fun fight. I'd probably go like 70-30 to Max. And even if you think I'm a Sean glazer, I'm a way bigger Holloway glazer. So Holloway for this one. The Ilia fight is also a really interesting fight. I think this one, the range and the size is going to play a much bigger factor. I think Sean is going to desperately try and keep Topuria on the outside. Topuria is going to try and find his way in, but I think that it kind of plays into Sean's game a little bit because Sean is really good with the front kicks and really good with the knees. We saw him totally shatter Cheeto's skull with one. We saw him have big success with the knees against Yan, cut him open. That's one of the reasons O'Malley won that fight. And I think with Topuria's kind of hands up, boxing, hunch forward style, a lot of those shots could be open for him. But at the same time, like, it's so much easier said than done to stop Topuria from getting on the inside. We saw how he was able to do it to Volk, and like just like that, he could put Sean's lights out. So it's kind of like a real 50-50 fight for me. I think it's a matchup Sean can win, but like, it's a super scary one. Also, we can have Sean versus Diego Lopes. I haven't really thought about this fight as much, so I don't really have like a straight up prediction. You know that Diego is going to bring the fight to Sean. It kind of just comes down to how Sean's going to be able to deal with that. For O'Malley versus Yair, this is another one I don't really have like a straight up kind of percentage prediction for you, but like, come on, two strikers throwing the kitchen sink at each other, like, you know that fight's going to be so fun. I think it's going to be high output from both of those guys because even though Yair can totally knock you out unexpectedly at any moment, he doesn't have that sort of like one punch KO aura that someone like Topuria has that would really make Sean be hesitant. So honestly, I think the Topuria fight could even be much more boring than this fight. Like, this fight would be straight fireworks. And Sean is also the kind of guy that likes to get you back with the same shot you threw at him, which could be really fun against a fighter like Yair. Like when Yan got that trip on O'Malley, O'Malley immediately tried to get that trip back on Yan. Or like when Munoz did that spinning wheel kick, O'Malley like immediately did that goofy like pirouette mocking him. Like Sean's just that kind of fighter, and like, I don't know, I just see that being really fun to fight with Yair. And even if the UFC makes Sean fight twice before he can get a title shot at featherweight, the fights there are super fun. I think he has a good chance in a lot of them. And I do think Sean could use a little bit more experience fighting high-level competition, learning how to adapt his game plan, fighting over 5 rounds and getting more confident in his cardio. So I don't necessarily think that would even be a bad thing. The only issue with this plan is it kind of takes a lot of fun out of the bantamweight division with O'Malley gone. Like, a lot of these guys at the top have already fought each other. We've already seen Yan versus Cory, or Yan versus Song Yadong, or Cory versus Song Yadong, or Cory versus Cheeto, or Yan versus Marab, right? Like, a lot of these guys have already fought each other. And O'Malley would create some fresh matchups, but ultimately I don't think it's a huge issue because we do have guys like Mario Batista knocking on the door of the top 10. We do have guys like Cejudo or Figueiredo or Umnar that have big names that haven't fought all of those other top guys I just mentioned yet. So fights can still be made there that are fun. I think I've kind of made the point I've wanted to. Sean O'Malley moving up to 145 sounds really fun for me, and I think it could be good for his career. So once again, let me know what you guys think, and peace.